Hey everybody, it's Big Dave, and this is another chapter from my award-winning book, One Hug at a Time, 99 Short Stories from the Man Who Embraced the World, me. This chapter is entitled, I Wanted to Stop, and this happened in 2011 in Richland Center, Wisconsin. All right, here we go. Meet Leroy. Leroy and I met in Richland Center, Wisconsin on my third bicycle trip across the United States. I was grabbing lunch in an American Legion bar and chatting with the bartender, who cut me off in the middle of what I was saying and said, Leroy's coming here soon and he's going to love you. With this being my first visit to Richland Center, I was clueless about knowing a man named Leroy or anyone else in the community for that matter. But the bartender was right. Leroy showed up and he loved me. Even though we never met, I knew who Leroy was as soon as he entered the bar. Greeted enthusiastically like he was king of the place, and on the TV show Cheers with a big, "Hey, Leroy," it was obvious. An old black man with a warm smile, Leroy's face lit up upon hearing his name. He waved to the bar and then made his way around the room like he owned the place, exchanging pleasantries and jokes with almost every patron. And watching Leroy work the room, I could just feel his charm and charisma. He was so smooth about things that you almost didn't notice that he hobbled a bit with a cane. As he spoke to people, it was also apparent that from the glances that he was giving me, that he was also getting bits and pieces of my story. After about 15 minutes of this, Leroy walked over to the bar stool next to me, placed his hand on my shoulder, and said, "Man, you are a big dude. But now let me hear your story in your words." After hearing my story, Leroy shared that he motorcycled across the nation shortly after World War II with some of his war buddies, and hearing this prompted me to ask why. And Leroy looked up at me and just plainly said, "To see what I fought for." Though he quickly added, "But what I really wanted to do is what you're doing." With great excitement, I looked down at him and I said, "Man, you wanted to ride a bike?" And he looked at me and he said, "Fuck no." And the more I think about you biking around, the crazier I think you are. You see I'm sitting on this side of you, facing away from the window. I don't even want to see your bicycle outside. He said, "Nah, man, I wanted to stop. I wanted to stop and see things. I wanted to stop and ask questions. I just wanted to stop and be." Leroy wanted to stop in some places, couldn't in some places, shouldn't in other places, and didn't in most. We didn't dare, he said, but it was a different America then. Leroy's voice then trailed off for a bit as he scanned the room. And then he turned up to me and looked and he said, "Man, how do you stop? I mean, I don't even know if I would have stopped in this place. And I know these people." I told him that I believe I could read people well. And he said, "Man, shit, you must," man, looking around the room with a smirk. I also said, anyone, even the most racist person in the world, could put up with someone long enough for them to put a couple dollars in their pocket for a sandwich and a Gatorade. Upon hearing this, a lone white man seated at the end of the bar raised a glass and said, "Cheers to that." Not knowing if the patron was toasting to his being a racist or not, Leroy just looked at me and said, "See, I have no idea what he's toasting to. The fact that you read people well, or the fact that he hates black folks." We both laughed for a bit, and when I asked for more details of his life, like his age, he gave me a riddle. He said, "Man, I've worked for 32 years, been retired for 32 years, and was in World War II. And I've seen a lot. You figure it out." Rolling my eyes, trying to figure out the math, I just stopped myself and I said, fuck, does it matter?" And he said, "No, it doesn't." As I gathered my stuff to leave, he scribbled his phone number down on a piece of scrap paper and said I should call him if I ever got in trouble. But he cautioned to me that I might have to wait a bit for him to get there if I did call. Holding up his cane in my face, he said, "Man, I don't move like I used to, but know that once I get there, it is on." It's always been my ability to move forward in life that has earned respect, praise, comments. It was never my stopping. In all honesty, it's the times that I had to stop on my journeys to hitch a ride here, or when I was sick or had to postpone things, that really brought me the most personal anguish and caused me to view myself as weak or with a degree of shame. But in talking to Leroy just for a moment, he let me know that he put stopping in a whole new light and showed me that stopping is what made the difference in my life. I want to thank you, Leroy, wherever you are. And to anyone that hears this, I want you to slow down and maybe even stop a bit and just enjoy life a little bit more. Thank you very much, and I'll give you another chapter later on. Be well, everybody.